Hi there, wonderful humans. Welcome back to Board Game Dads. My name is Anthony,
And my name is Eric.
and we are back with another seasonal spotlight. This time, it's fall, y'all. Eric, we're going to be highlighting several games with a bit of a fall theme or fall backdrop to it. And then later on, we'll talk about where we're going from here, right? Things that are coming up after this episode. We got a lot of exciting things planned, but let's not skip over this season of fall, which happens to be my personal favorite of the four seasons. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
It's one of my four favorites.
Okay. Okay. You're not a big fan of ranking the seasons?
It's tough, right? Because they
Yeah.
each have. If I had to rank them, I would say that winter, if there's snow, would be my favorite. If it's
Okay.
just cold, then it's my least favorite. But the snow just makes it that much cooler. That if we're gonna get 3 or 4 big snowstorms of at least 13, 14 inches, favorite season. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe summer, maybe fall, probably not spring.
Yes,
Spring's
right.
cool. I'm not trying to dump on spring. It's
No,
just
but I mean, there's only four. Something's got to be on the bottom, right? And
right.
me personally, spring is on the bottom. But
Yeah, because the first month of spring, it's still winter because of the damn groundhog. Doesn't matter if he sees your shadow or not. It's always cold. Like
but speaking of
baseball in
cold,
April with snow on the ground.
yes, but speaking of cold, changes in the air for sure. And again, if you live in an area that is geographically prone to have seasonal, weather changes, you certainly notice that it's getting a little cooler out, especially at night. It's certainly getting darker faster.
Yeah.
That's always a telltale sign. But Eric, overall, when you talk about fall or autumn, what are some things that come to mind?
Well, there's the main thing, which is the color change of the leaves.
Yeah.
That's, when people think of fall, they think of the orange, driving up to, like, I don't know, Massachusetts or whatever. But that's like the one on the Northeast. You take that drive and you start to see green to yellows and oranges and everything. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's a nice drive. So that's the main thing. Now there's also a couple holidays throughout the fall season. There's Halloween and Thanksgiving.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, yeah. So that Halloween's got a big part to play in the fall season as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's
But
true.
also there is the football season starts in fall.
That's right.
And that's the best part of the season for me is the beginning because I've been waiting. I'm a Mets fan, right? So like the Mets all of a sudden, and so now I'm like, all right, well, when's football start? So finally it starts. I'm very excited and everything. So it's a good time.
Yep. Football's back. Um, love the pumpkin flavored stuff. I know that's all the hype. The pumpkin spice.
Right.
I'm not crazy like that, but I do enjoy it to an extent. I do like waiting until technically fall starts before I indulge in those types of beverages or foods. But that's just because I'm a stickler for things like that.
Well,
Um,
technically, fall started last week.
that's true. That's true. So we can
So,
dive right in.
yep.
Like diving into a pile of raked leaves. We're gonna dive
Mhm.
into some major picks.
I used to love, and so a very fond childhood memory that I have is raking all the leaves in the backyard with my dad and my brother, and then somebody throwing the football into the pile of leaves, and then all three of us, 1, 2, 3, go. We all dive into the pile of leaves at the same time, so you can get the football and not get covered in any dog turds. And it was fun. It's just it's and it takes fall, it takes the leaves and it takes football, and it mashes them together into one wonderful memory.
That's true. That's true. All right. So before we get into those big old picks, we of course have some honorable mentions.
Right.
I've got one that is such an honorable mention because, frankly, it's not available yet, at least not to me. That's because it's a Kickstarter game called Three Sisters. This is from designers Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback, who designed Flate the Dice game, which I love very much. This is a similar looking game. It is a roll and write with those two, larger kind of sheets, and it's all about planting your garden in this Three Sisters sort of strategy that I believe is a Native American thing from way back when, where you would plant certain crops that would sort of help each other grow and benefit each other in different ways. So that's my honorable mention. I can almost guarantee that when fall comes around again next year, this will be one of the games that we talk about. I have a very strong feeling about that.
Now that's coming out soon. You might get that in fall,
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
I thought that was coming out in the next couple months.
The whole shipping thing is
I know.
totally
Yeah, that's
totally
true.
screwed up. So I
That's
have no idea. All right, what about you? What's your honorable mention for fall?
true. My honorable mentions are, I got two again, not just one. So one of them is called Indian Summer, which I know it's got summer in the name, but it's about fall. It's one of those Uwe Rosenberg, one of the trilogy games like Spring Meadow and what was the other one?
Cottage Garden.
Cottage Garden, and I think New York Zoo might be part of that as well. But this one, it's got a lot of tiles with leaves on them, so it's pretty fall-ish. And then my other honorable mention is called First and Goal. Right, you can't talk about football season in the fall and not just throw out a little football game. It's a fun game, and when you roll those dice and you get a good roll, it's exciting. You get a breakaway, so you're like, oh, I get to roll all the dice again. Maybe I'll get a touchdown. And then when you do, you get up and you run around the house.
Do you try to make it a point to play that game in fall for the most part?
I try.
Yeah, doesn't always get to the table. It's a lot of games.
Yeah, that is true.
All right, ready for some major picks then?
Let's do it.
All right. So we talked about how the really major thing, I think, if you're doing a word association with someone and they say fall, leaves is going to be a pretty common answer. And again, talk specifically about that change in color in the foliage makes for some beautiful scenes here. And my first game is based really heavily on that, and that's called Photosynthesis. So in Photosynthesis, from Blue Orange Games, by the way, you're going to be converting some seedlings into trees that are a little bit smaller and then continue to upgrade those trees into a medium size and then a large one. And essentially, excuse me, essentially, every round is going to have two phases. One is sunlight, where you have this sun tracker that goes around the board and it's going to cast sunlight in certain directions in those particular rows, and whatever trees you have that are receiving the sunlight in that direction is going to get sun points, which is basically currency in this game. Small trees will score you 1 light, two trees two, big medium trees 2, and large trees are going to get 3 points for you. So you gather all your sun points, and then you can do some actions. You can use some of those sun points to do a few things. You can plant some seeds. You can upgrade a small tree to medium or medium to a large. You can also harvest one of those large trees to get points. So basically, the whole way you get points is by building up these trees to the largest one, the big size one, and then spending light to cut that tree down, which is going to give you some victory points. Now, you'll notice on the board there's different rings of leaf value. So there's all those ones around, and then twos, threes, and there's 1, 4 in the middle. That's important because the points that you score when you do harvest your big trees are going to come from those piles, meaning the one in the middle is always going to be worth the most points. Outside that 3 ring are going to be more points than the 2 and more than the 1. That being said, that middle spot, especially in a 3 or 4 player game, is the most sought after because it is the highest point value. But you're not going to just steal it all the time, right? Because when you harvest that big tree, it comes off the board. Now that spot is empty. Pretty cool mechanic with the whole sunlight thing. It's definitely thematic, especially because if you have a smaller tree behind a larger tree in that sunlight's path, that larger tree is going to cast a shadow, thus not giving that smaller one light. So there is a lot of turns in this game where you might go from getting, 11 light points, and then a couple turns later, when the sun is a different spot, a couple of your trees might be blocked. You're going to get a lot less sun. And that's where the sort of, as Eric says, the take that kind of comes into play, right?
Yeah, it can be mean, especially in that 2-player game, because I put out my tree and then you see where I put it and you're like, oh, I'm going to put my tree right here, right next to yours. And then the next round, I'm going to grow this tree. Well, there goes my light.
Yeah.
So it can be a little mean,
It
but
can be a little mean. I think it's more mean with less people. Like I think it's
yeah,
meanest at
I would
two.
agree with that. I would agree with that. But the game looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
The 3D trees are just, I saw the 3D trees. I was like, wow, that looks really cool. Went out and bought it just based on the components. So, and now we don't play it because it's mean and we only play it at two player.
Yeah, it's got a cool look to it for
Yeah,
sure. Um,
absolutely.
and like I said, it's thematic and it has a good game at the heart, right? It's not just about the components, although they are great. The gameplay is pretty cool. You're constantly kind of recycling, right? Because you're growing the tree up and up and up, cutting it down, getting some stuff back, and doing that process again. So
It's kind of it's also it's a race to get your trees built in the middle so that you can cut them down and get those bigger scoring tokens
right,
before anybody else gets them. Because each time you get one, the next person that gets one, the points are going to be a little bit less.
right,
So you
right.
want to get two of the first three or the highest three, something like that. So it can be a little bit more of like a race to just do this one thing to get the most amount of
Yeah,
points.
yeah. But there's a good amount of planning in this game,
Yeah,
because you have to those so the trees that are set up on your player board, like you see here, and those seeds off to the left, those things are not available to you until you purchase them, basically with light. So there's definitely
and then
planning
plant them.
involved. Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah, you got
So
to
there's
plant the tree
multiple
and then they
steps.
grow, grow, grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of thinking going on. Very pretty to look at. Great table presence. Definitely check this one out. It's very popular. Also, there is an expansion I should note. I don't own it. It's called Under the Moonlight, and I believe it adds some animal
Hmm.
meeples that each have a different sort of ability. I believe you get one animal per person. But
I'm surprised I didn't know that. I love animeeples.
there you go. All right, so that's my first pick, the photosynthesis. Eric, are you staying on theme here?
Yes, I sure am. This game is very, very similar to Photosynthesis, a game called Bosk. Now, this was designed by Daryl Andrews and Erica Bujoris. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. It's a 2 to 4 player, 40-minute game that plays ages 13 and up, I believe. And it's an abstract strategy game with some area control influence, whatever you want to call that, and it's very, very colorful, as you can see from this picture. But it's so the game takes place in 4 rounds, and you have this board out here, and as you can see from this picture, there's 8 different regions, and they're gonna there's going to be scoring that's determined by those 8 regions at the end of the game. So each of the 4 seasons does something different. So springtime, you're just putting your trees out, and you're putting each tree that you put out, and you're alternating. You're just going to put it on an intersection somewhere. And then everybody does that. Once you get all your trees out, then it's the summer phase where it's literally just scoring each column or row.
Mhm.
If whoever has the most trees on that column or row gets X amount of points, and then the summer phase is over. And you just go through each column, you go through each row, add up the points, and then you go into autumn, where you start dropping leaves from the trees. And this is like the meat of the game, the best part of the game, because the leaves look really cool. Um, so yeah, so there's some of the wooden leaves. You can go back to that last picture for just 1 second. At the very top, it's not a very good picture. There's a wind track, and so when you're doing the leaves, you're going to go from the left to the right, and each one of those tracks or each one of those little symbols up there is telling you a different direction that the wind's going
Okay.
to blow. So you're going to pick a tree. You're going to pick one of your one of the big fat leaves that you see sitting on everybody's little section, and they're going to have a number from, I think, 1 to 9. And that's going to tell you how many leaves you're going to put out. And you just put them out in a row. You can go in that direction. You can kind of go on diagonal, but as long as you're going into the direction that it tells you. And if you want to cover somebody else's leaf, then you just have to spend an extra leaf to cover it up, and you just keep on dropping them out. And then the next person go. And then once I put out 9 leaves, I can't use 9 again. I have to go, through 1 through 8. I can. All right, well, this one's just going to put
Okay.
out 1 leaf, and so you just keep doing that. And then once that season's over, then you go to the winter, and then you fall. All right, then you score, and you score for each of those 8 regions that I pointed out before. Whoever has the most of their flowers or squirrels. As you can see, there are squirrels in this game as well. The squirrel basically just acts as a flower, or a flower, a
A
leaf
leaf.
that's sitting on top of another leaf. But since there's your squirrel there, nobody else can then cover it up again. So let's say there's some yellow leaves, and then
Okay.
the red player goes, well, I want to keep going this way, and they put a red leaf on top of the yellow leaf, and then the purple player says, well, I want to go. They put a squirrel there. Now the I don't know, the green player, the other color, can't put anything else on top of the squirrel.
But other than that, there's no limit to how much you could stack.
No, well, if there's 5 leaves there and you want to put a leaf there, you got to pay 5 leaves
True. Right.
plus the one that you're going to put there and put it on top of the stack. So
Right.
at a
Right.
certain
Right.
point, it's just not worth it anymore. But you count all the regions, you count all the points. Whoever has the most point in each region gets a certain amount of points, and that's it. That's scoring. And this is what the end game looks like. It's not a very good picture because it's kind of looking straight down on these trees that at this point just look like little plus signs.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, those are the different regions, so you'll score points from there, and it's a cool game. I'm not huge into abstract strategy,
Hmm.
but the components are so cool looking, just like photosynthesis, that I got the game. I tried it out. I like this one a little bit more than photosynthesis. It's not as mean. You are
Right.
covering up other people's leaves, but that's not that big of a deal. But it looks great on the table.
That's true because in photosynthesis, when you block light, I mean you're preventing that person from getting income, which
Right.
is then preventing them from doing more stuff on their turn. So
And a
yeah,
lot of times you're doing it on purpose because you're like, I can either go here or I can go here and steal their light.
right.
What are you going to do? You're going to go there and steal their light. You're trying to win the game. You're not, trying to make a bunch of friends.
But this is cool. I like the fact that there's some that it works differently in each season. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still never played this one. I really want to give this a shot though.
Yeah. You should check this one out. It's fun.
Cool. All right, so we're on to pick number 2. Now, we did mention briefly that there are a couple of pretty major holidays in the fall time, and one of those has to do with Thanksgiving. Now, this is not a Thanksgiving specific game. However, one of the things that does take place very often in fall, if you do have any kind of planting going on, it's harvest time, right? So we're going to be gathering those crops, and my next pick is called Harvest Dice. So in Harvest Dice, you are going to be rolling a bunch of dice that are either red, orange, or green that represent tomatoes, lettuce, and carrots. And this is one of those games where first player will roll all the dice and then draft their first pick. Next player takes their pick, and that kind of keeps going. And then when there's one die left, instead of like a lot of roll and write games, when there's one die left, everyone gets that last thing,
Right.
right? So in this one, everyone does get it, but it works in a little bit of a different way. So let me explain. So basically, you pick your first die, and whatever color it was that you picked, that's the vegetable that you're going to draw. And whatever the pip value was, you can see the columns there, that's where you're going to draw that particular vegetable. The caveat being that once you plant one type of vegetable, the next time you plant that type, it does have to be adjacent to that one, right? So you can't have, carrots here and here. The carrots are going to be connected. The lettuce is going to be
Right.
connected. When you're finished drafting the dice and there's only one left, that last one doesn't get drawn in anyone's garden. Rather, at the very bottom of the score sheet, there are 3 basically baskets for these types of veggies. And that last die is going to cross off one of the spots in that basket. And what that does is that's how you're going to score points at the end of the game for that particular vegetable. So let's say, the game was over, and as you can see in this example, see carrots are only crossed off twice. So
Oh,
all
wait. Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
that's okay.
You get to draw out little carrots and tomatoes and lettuce on the board.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
It's not just like writing a number somewhere.
No,
I didn't
no,
I
no.
didn't know that about this game. That's really cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
since I interrupted you, because I was going to do this later anyway.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So give yourself a second to remember where you were before I interrupted you for
Mhm.
15 minutes. Have you ever picked or grown carrots? I know you started doing gardening recently. Have you ever done carrots?
I've never done carrots.
I'll,
I've
t- I'll tell you.
seen.
I'll tell you one thing. When you pick a fresh carrot out of the dirt, that thing smells amazing.
Really?
Absolutely. I had never had any idea that carrots smelled so good coming out of. I didn't even know they had a scent. It's just orange. But yeah, if you do that,
Are you getting big carrots?
oh, we're not doing them this year, but
Oh,
we've
okay,
done them in the past,
okay.
and we've gotten some big ones. We took a few years to figure out what to do because I would just do a bunch of seeds and then have a bunch of them growing into each other, and then there's a bunch of weird looking carrots and everything. But whatever, they're fresh. You wash them off, peel them, eat them, smell them.
Yeah, and a lot of times I see people posting pictures of the carrots that they harvested, and it's like the green part is like, like this long, and the carrot's like this big.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times they'll, but if you mix up the dirt before you start planting the seeds, it's kind of loose underneath. They'll go a little deeper. Anyway, I
Mm.
apologize, but I once I saw this picture, I had to mention I didn't know that you get to draw a little vegetable. That's awesome. I got to go out and get this game tomorrow.
Yeah, that's definitely a good selling point to this game. This one checks off a bunch of boxes for us, right? It's a roll and write, which we love. It's a theme about food. We love games about food in general, and the fact that you can use color pencils and you're not just checking off boxes or writing
Right,
numbers is pretty cool. So also, again, to increase the replayability of this, you don't really feel like you're going to be scoring the same range of points every time because the value of each vegetable is always going to be different. So again, in this example, carrots are only worth 2 points at the end of this game. So I might have a whole bunch, but they're not going to do much for me. Whereas the tomatoes here were filled up all the way, all six, so they're going to be 6 points each. And then there's also some bonuses for getting finishing rows, finishing having the most of each vegetable. And then the last thing that you can do here in the bottom left is you can feed the pig. Now you can only feed the pig if you can't draw the vegetable dice that you drafted. So the strategy comes in a little bit that you might want to purposely take a die that you can't draw because you want to feed the pig. So the pig's going to get you points based on the farthest down row that you complete, right? But also after you complete each row, you get to use the pig's ability, which will allow you to adjust the die value by one up or down, or change the color to a different one. So for a small game, there's a pretty good amount of stuff going on here. I think this is a pretty underrated game. I don't hear it talked about too often. But again, roll and write about food. You get the color. I'm on board.
yeah. This looks awesome. Like I said, I'm gonna check this one out. Probably pick this up soon.
Nice. My one complaint, and this is, I sound like you now. This box appears at first glance to be a square, and it is indeed not. So you can only put the cover on one direction. If you put it the other way, and you're like, why isn't this fitting? It's like 2 centimeters longer on one side than the other. It's so weird. Like, why? Why isn't it just
Eh,
not a square?
that's not too bad.
Oh, come on. You
At least
complain
it's not.
about.
At least it doesn't have the name of the game on the side.
Yes,
Is
it
it is it
does.
is it oversized for no reason at all?
No, it's the same
Is it
size
a
as
metal
the
tin?
score pad. No.
I got nothing to say. Those are my three big gripes about board game boxes.
All right. Well, your next game, your second game, comes in an interesting shape as well.
Oh yeah, this box is garbage. Well, all right, it's not garbage because it's part of the game, but
Right.
it
Right.
just it doesn't. I can't put it on my shelf because it's a circle. So the game, and I say game, but if you look for it on Board Game Geek, it's not there. I guess they think it's just an
Mm.
activity, and I get that because it's a game that I got. It's by Peaceable Kingdom. It's called Acorn Soup. Now, I just want to throw this out there. I went out there and started researching Peaceable Kingdom games because when we did the video uh, that we had Ryan from dadsuggest.com on, and he
Hmm.
started telling me about these games by Peaceable Kingdom, and I was like, oh, I never really looked into them. I was just sort of like, you know, tunnel vision or narrow minded, just haba 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 haba.
Yeah.
Now there's like whole other world of like kids games. So this game, it's there's no player count. It takes like 5 minutes to play, and it's for ages 2 and 3.
only.
Yeah,
That's
I
probably
went
why it's not on Board Game Geek. They
right.
couldn't decide where to put what categories to put it in.
I mean, I could play it, right? But I'm not. It's not that great. So basically, you get one of these recipe cards that you see up here, and you say, "Hey, look, we're going to make fall soup," and you tell your 2 year old or 3 year old to take that wooden spoon, put the ingredients on it first. We need a leaf, so he takes the leaf, puts it on a spoon, and then they dump it in the board game box, which is the pot, because they're making fall soup. And then he said, "All right, and then we need 3 cherries, and then you need 3 walnut," and they just it's an activity for the kids, and it's they're testing their recognition of the different things, their counting, and their dexterity. These are my daughter's arms right here as she goes to grab the blueberry and put it on the wooden spoon, and then she's going to put it in a thing and drop it in. Now she can't actually hold the spoon with one hand and keep it straight and put it and then dump it. So she's usually using 2 hands.
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, she's 26 months or so old. Not in 26 months she'll be able to do it. But so that's the game. It's she likes it. That it's the nice thick pieces of wood, so she can drop them on the floor. It's not a big deal, and it's fun. And I think technically, when you're playing the game in the rules, it's like, oh, help squirrel make soup. So it's cute, and it's got these different
Okay.
recipe cards for fall soup and for acorn soup and different things like that. So it's got that fall feel. And oh, there she is dropping it in there. So, but yeah, and then it's also, by the way, absolutely encouraged to take that wooden spoon and mix everything up in the pot. And she loves doing that. Once she puts a bunch of stuff in there, then she'll mix it up. And then we tell her to bring it over to her fake kitchen and put her on her kitchen and turn the dial. And then it becomes just a toy. But then we
Yeah.
have to pack it up and get it out of there so it doesn't just sit out with like her kitchen stuff.
Hmm.
But I enjoy it. This is so far the only game outside of First Orchard that I'm able to take out and interact with my daughter with, where she's
Sure.
helping play the game. She might not yet get it, but she understands what I'm asking her to do.
Right. Right.
Get
Right.
one of these. Okay. Put it on the spoon. Okay. Put it in here. Done. Mix it. So it's fun. And as a dad, I love seeing my little baby have fun. I love the fact that she's playing a game, she's doing something,
Right.
and I love this game. This game,
Speaking of fact, if you did not see last week's episode, which was
right?
our Dadcast, we introduced a new rating system that we're going to be implementing here on several of our board game holiday spotlights or seasonal spotlights. And today is the first time that we're actually going to be using this thing. And we're using Eric's second pick here, Acorn Soup. So we're going to go ahead and bring up our new rating system called F.A.C.T.S. And we're going to go ahead and start with the F, which is it fun for the family?
No, it is because again, it's a game. It's not fun if I'm not going to sit down with my wife and our daughter and we're all going to play the game. We're going to sit there and we're going to watch our daughter play the game, and that's
Right.
fun. But no, it's not fun for the family.
It's not a game that you're going to play without kids.
Right. So I gave this a 0.5 stars.
All right, so we should clarify for each of these letters, the possible point value is two
Right.
stars each, including half points. So we're going to half a star for the F.
Yep.
All right, on to the A. Does it appeal to the ages that it's targeted towards?
Absolutely. This is targeted towards a 2 year old. It's like thick wooden pieces of food, a thick wooden spoon, a little pot. This is all the stuff that she already plays with in her kitchen.
Right.
But now it's got rules associated with it, and it's got
Right.
counting, and it's got recognition. So she loves it.
So
So
on to the components.
two
Oh, sorry, what's the stars
two
for that one?
2 stars for that one.
Okay. And then you sort of already alluded to this, but the components, very
Components
sturdy.
are amazing.
Yeah.
However, one of the leaves, you can see in one of the previous pictures, but one of the leaves has some missing print, right? So the top half of the leaf is like scratched off or something, and it came like that. And I'm not going to return it. I'm not going to write anything about it because it's still a thick wooden thing. I can just flip it over if it bothers me. But can't give it 2 stars. So I gave it 1.5 stars for that.
Okay, that's
All
fair.
right.
So on to the T, which is teachability. Basically, how fast can you teach this game? How quickly can you get this game, started? And certainly, when you're talking about a game that is targeted towards 2 and 3 year olds, the teaching part is going to vary greatly depending on the kid and the teacher. But like you said, there's not a whole lot of rules in this game, right? So I think it's pretty easy to explain out loud, whether the 2 year old is going to understand you or not, what the concept of this game is. So, what do you give this out of 2 stars for teachability?
So out of 2 star, I gave this one a 2, right? Because this
Okay.
is, again, this is simple. There's recognize what you need, count them, put them in the pot or put them on a spoon, put them in the pot, and it's super simple. And these are all, like these are all rules and directions that a 2-year-old can follow.
Right.
And even though it's easy, it's helping them learn because they're
Yeah.
not. So yeah, definitely 2 in terms of the ease of teaching this game.
Yep, and it's helping them learn a few things, like you mentioned briefly right now. But that's basically what our S is. That's the skill set. What is the child going to walk away from this game, hopefully grasping, and be able to implement in another activity, whether it's another game or something else in life, right? And these things start very young. So, as you mentioned, there's obviously a matching aspect to this, right? You've got to look at the icon of the card and find that matching icon in the component. That's a great skill for young folks
Yeah.
to have. And then there's certainly, like you said, the dexterity element, right? This balancing on this spoon, and that's great. I'm glad that you said that your daughter currently needs to use 2 hands to do it, right? That's good because that at some point there's this goal of moving to one hand, right?
Right. Now you
That's the
get to see the
progress.
progression where she starts to, try with one
Exactly.
hand. But yeah, so
Exactly.
this one I gave this one 1.5 because while yes, there's skill sets and she could do these, she's not learning something new, but this is definitely reiterating skills or a skill set that she already kind of knows, right? She could
Sure.
already recognize that. She could sort of count to 3. She sees 3 on the card, so she wants. So 1.5 stars because it's doing a great job, but it's not also teaching her something new.
Right. So, what's our total? I'm so excited. This is the first time we're doing this.
I
The
know.
facts. What is the total score for Acorn Soup, first ever board
So
game
we
dad's rated
gave
game?
this game altogether a 7.5.
All right.
Now that's not saying that personally I'm going to rate this game a 7.5 on Board Game Geek, which it's not on. But for the age range, 7.5. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
And I love finding new things and different things to just kind of interact with her and board games.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone for other stuff, for other
Right.
games. So, anything that we can get our hands on from a young age, we're going to go ahead and give it a shot. So, I hope you enjoyed our our rating system so far. We're going to try to, like I said, implement that with at least one pick per video, I would say. And again, mostly
Prob-
focusing on the younger folks for
right.
that one.
Probably the games that we talk about, the ones that are more geared that you could play more easily with children, probably going to be the ones that are going to be rated. I'm not going
Right.
to do all 4.
Yeah, that's too much. All right, folks. So we're coming near the end of our seasonal spotlight here. Eric, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Wait, what
No.
is that? You see that? That
What do you
is
see?
the horizon. What is that on the horizon?
Is it a pumpkin?
It looks like a pumpkin with a face. No, wait, there's 4 of them.
Oh.
4 Halloween pumpkins with a face and a fat bird. Can't see that far ahead though. So we're going to be doing 4 videos for Halloween this year. We're going to be doing a Halloween dadcast, which will be our first holiday dadcast.
Right.
So should be interesting. Probably just be more of the same. But anyway.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about Halloween type games.
Absolutely. And then what are the other 3 videos we got, Batiste?
Well, so then after that, we're going to do a video focused specifically on the sort of classic monsters, right? Think Frankenstein, werewolf, that kind of stuff. Followed by, and this is a pretty cool one, an episode only about haunted house games. So games that take place in some sort of haunted house.
And you might be thinking to yourself, why board game dads? There can't possibly be 4 games about haunted houses that you guys could talk about, plus honorable mentions. And you're right. That's why we have a special guest who will be coming in to talk about 2 additional games, making the total 6 haunted house games.
That's right.
I'm very
That's right.
excited because it's such a like a narrow, specific, kind of category.
Yeah.
And it's the one that we have the most games to talk about.
Yeah,
This is
it is
great.
interesting.
And then our
And then
final one.
we're gonna wrap the whole thing up. The last one will be basically Halloween night games, right? These are games that either take place in, on Halloween themselves,
Right.
or just make perfect sense to play
Yeah.
on Halloween night. So you'll see lots and lots of Halloween stuff coming from Board Game Dads over the next 4 weeks. We're very excited. One of our favorite holidays. So we've got lots of stuff to plan. And Eric, any ideas on Halloween costumes this year?
For my daughter,
Yeah.
we're thinking about dressing her all in black and putting, having my wife get her like a black hoodie and get like a white thing, have it go all the way from her head down to the back, and she's going to be a skunk.
Nice.
We think that's cute. Now we also, Logan, our 3-month-old, he's going to be the Incredible Hulk.
Nice.
He's got the Hulk onesie, and we just went out and bought a pair of purple pants. Melissa's going to cut them up so they look like ragged and everything, and he's just going to be going for a stroll, spitting up all over himself, while Zoe gets 8 pieces of candy before she gets tired and wants to go home.
Yeah, that's fair. That'll be a good picture though. If when he gets upset at one point with the Hulk costume on, he's like, ah.
Take it with a filter so he looks green instead of red.
All right, friends, that's it for now. Make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you tune in next week for Halloween Dadcast Part 1.
Oh, that's right. That's next week.
Yeah.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Happy fall.